Good afternoon. My name is Jeroen Mulder, and I would like to welcome you to another presentation in our series for AI for Aviation Sustainability. First note, please, that this webinar is being recorded, so I think it's good always to mention that. Today's presentation is called Big Data, Big Waste, Feeding the AI Beast. And the presentation is done or will be presented by Althea Davis and Rashid Al-Suwadi. They work. Sorry for that. They work. There's an echo. And yep, sorry, I'm back again. So Althea and Rashid, they work for the Turnkey Technologies. Althea is managing partner and chief data officer, and Rashid is chief executive officer at the Turnkey Technologies. They both work and live in Abu Dhabi. And Althea and Rashid will share their vision on the topic of data governance and the way airlines can use AI to become more sustainable and to also reduce their carbon footprint, because it's about sustainability. Good to know that any questions during the presentations, they can be addressed through the Q&A section inside BlueJeans. So please do not use the chat, but put them in the Q&A session. And we will answer these questions at the end of the presentations or a bit in between if appropriate. Perfect. The moderation of today will be done by Marja Veentje and Astris Apostolidis and me. And I think the most important for now is that we will give the floor to Althea and Rashid.
Althea?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rashid.
Thank you. I'm just making sure you can hear me. So thank you, Jeroen, and yeah, thanks for presenting us. As you said, my name is Rashid Al-Suwaidi and here's Althea Davis. We're here to speak about the feeding the AI beast. So what I'll do, I'll start by sharing a presentation initially, and we'll go through it. Can you see my screen out here?
Not yet. Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay. So we are Turnkey Technologies, and we're going to address some of the important part of the power of data. Starting with, you can present out here.
Okay, so what we will do today is we will discuss these points in three segments. The first segment is to look at the convergence of data and AI together with sustainability. And what does this actually mean for an airline group? Then we are going to pivot and have a look at how others have made great achievements, and what kinds of methods have they used which we advocate. And then we will look at the method. We'll explain to you what our big idea is and how this impacts businesses positively. Go ahead, Rashid. There, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so first of all, what we would like to do is we want to look at AirFrance-KLM Group within the context of the wider economy and global scale. And of course, everybody knows we're in the fourth industrial revolution, and this is definitely the information economy. So what does that mean in terms of driving success for such a global present airline group? What I'd like you to do is take a moment and think about pioneers. Obviously, this organization is noted for that, but there are also other pioneers. Pioneers, the usage of data, having data acronym, and really grasping those opportunities years ago, even 10 years ago or more. And those companies are companies that are well known, like Amazon, like Google, Alibaba, Uber, many of these big name companies that you and I know, but they did something already over 10 any other that made them part of the 1%. And those 1% are now valued at anywhere from 3 times to more than 1,000 times the value of their competition. And it's because they were able to grasp one idea that data was incredibly important as an asset. It needed to be, if you treasure it, then you should handle it. And they took it to an extreme where they really benefited from it. And we're going to look at that in this presentation. But I do want to talk to you first about what's called the 3 stages of truth. So in the 3 stages of truth, in the very beginning, when you believe something, people will ridicule you. That might be something that those of you at the group have experienced, either if you were standing up for sustainability or AI or for data. And then at the second stage, people violently oppose you. Maybe in the work arena, it won't be violent with knives or anything like that, but maybe you might ruffle some feathers by talking about this. And then in the third stage, it becomes self-evident. It's quite self-evident that a Google is a master at anticipating some of what you might want to search for, or that Amazon might also be very good at anticipating that you really want to get that notification about your delivery with the right type of information. So it becomes self-evident. Now that's where, of course, most companies want to be. You want to be on top in the information economy. This ability is essential. Okay, next slide. Rashid, go ahead.
Yeah. So what we're going to speak about is the next destination for the airline industry. If you look at AirFrance-KLM and other airlines and other industries that walked past the crisis, they had many values and ideas, and what the crisis made is they made them invest in more ambitions and they want to implement them. So they came to a need for creativity, and they want to look on how to implement AI and how to implement it and benefit from it. So going from all these points, from health and safety, flight safety, fleet management, the flexibility, confidence in the customers. So they are trying to shape the organizations based on the customer needs to have a sustainable airline in the industry. So most stating the fact that many businesses have desires, have goals or to reach. There is a role in data on making those goals visible, let's say. So we're going to take a look of how AirFrance-KLM's goals are aligned with their data. So if you look at commercial flexibility, you need to create the confidence in customers to say, okay, I'm choosing this over this, or having the customer aligned with the values of the airlines. So many of the things that the initiatives the airlines take, like for example, the aircraft maintenance may affect the business and indirectly affect other things like agile network management and also strict expenditure and controls. So how can we become hyper intelligent as an organization? If we look back at what happened to the crisis, which I call it in banking, because I call it the wake-up call, because this crisis changed a lot in finance, and it's implemented again, and we can see that happening right now. So after the crisis, banks went to the fourth generation of technology, where they tried to to be within the life of the customer, to fit his needs, return to their core of being a service servant leader, a servant mentor on all the finances. They observe their customers and they try to be as much there as they can. So they went from being approached by customers for the need of them to looking for new customers and understand their behaviors and experiences. If you look back at the aviation industry, airlines, they have walked past this crisis and they have many responsibilities to take. So we're going to speak about responsible aviation. How can we sustain the aircrafts being the usable assets we have, and remember that we have. It doesn't matter what type or how big it is or how small the aircraft is. We need to focus on more like flight safety, fuel, all of these small data that we could find and use to have a much better economic life of the products we have. So we're going back to implementing what the banking industry implemented as being a servant leader in aviation, a servant mentor, and start to observe, reflect, and encourage other airlines to follow this and have a more customer relationship, so we could understand the behaviors and experience and reach the full potential of experience for the customer and his needs. So that takes us to the next slide, and yeah, back to you, Althea.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rashid. Thank you very much. And that concept of servant leader and getting back to core utility, we're about to look at some examples of how other companies and even other industries have been able to find that perfect cross-section between the convergence of sustainability principles or circular economy principles and data, but data in a non-conventional way that really adds a lot of value, together with a really slick way to do AI adoption. But before we look at those examples, we thought that we would involve the audience in this presentation by drafting 4 poll questions. And I'm going to hand it over to Maria so she can present those polls.
Yeah, sure. I will do it with pleasure, and thank you so far for the story. Let me be like a quizmaster today, because I opened the Q&A. I hope you, audience, can find it on your screen because it's open already, and I will read the question. If you could have one of the following superpowers, which one would you choose? Would you choose superhuman strength? Or would you like to be able to talk to animals? Or maybe reading minds? Please make your choice, and I will open the poll. I'll leave it open for 15 more seconds. But in the meantime, Althea and Rashid, we can already have some results. I don't know if you see it. Most people now say they would like to be able to read minds.
Ah, surprise. Yeah.
And there are not many Superman heroes on board. Talking to animals is also popular.
It's also popular, talking to animals.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Are we going to do them one by one, or would you like?
Yeah. I will end this poll now because, 85 people already voted, so that's good. And maybe you get used to it. Yeah. Okay. So I end the poll now. 19 votes, but there will be more questions. Do you want me to proceed? But first, of course, I will tell the results of this one. Superhuman strength, 17%. That's the smallest amount. Then talking to animals, 28% of the 90 people have chosen talking to animals. And the winner is reading minds. Most people would like to do that. So,
People
that's
are
cool.
curious.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's great. Do you want to continue, or shall I proceed to the second question?
We can maybe what I'll do is we can go to the second question. Go ahead. Let's just get the 4 out of the way, and then we can weave it into the conversation. That's fine.
Yeah, for sure. So, audience, the next question is open for you. The question is, how likely would you think our customers will recommend to fly with Air France-KLM? So, do you think it is they will, once again, how likely do you think our customers will recommend to fly with our Air France-KLM group? And the audience is positive already. I'm happy to see that. Many people say likely or even very likely, and some of them have picked unlikely. There are,
Okay.
It's a feeling, I think. You cannot know. It's a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. Of course. Okay.
So I will
the next one, or no, sorry, you got to get the result.
Yeah, I will wait till I have, I don't know, we had 90 before, we are now 88 voters.
Wow. Okay.
So come on, 2 people. Yeah, so I stopped the poll because we have to proceed. And I will share the result with you. Most of the people voted for likely. So 46 people said, it's likely that they will recommend.
Okay.
How about then?
Okay.
The third question is, so it's open for you again, audience, please vote. The statement is, my organization invests sufficiently time and money in its data usage and data infrastructure. So if you agree, or maybe you disagree strongly even, please tick it. So once again, the question is, my organization invests sufficient time and money in its data usage and data infrastructure. And here, for you to know, Rashid and Althea, the audience is less uniform. They are a little bit, the 4 answers are almost equal.
Almost equal.
Yeah.
Different parts of the business. Different realities.
We have 85 people already voted. It's almost 90. I will end with when I have 90 votes. 92 even. I end it. Let me see the winner. It's close. It's a close call. Neither agree nor disagree. That's the winner of this this one. So, very, very neutral. Yeah.
Perception.
And then the last one in this row, I have just started it, and I will read the question. Our current effort in AI adoption for sustainability is resulting in increased market share for the Air France-KLM Group. So you can let us know if you strongly disagree, maybe you are equal, again, neither agree nor disagree. Maybe you agree, or even you could say strongly agree. It is up to you. And now what I see from the first replies that we receive, again, that people are in balance. Neither agree nor disagree. That's until now the winner. I will stop when I have 90. There are 15. So please vote, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a nice way to see what people feel and think. But I can already predict the winner of this one. It will be, again, neither agree nor disagree.
In the middle.
In the middle.
Okay.
I will end the poll, so then.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to come in? Yeah. Shall I withdraw?
Yeah.
You need me.
No, it's okay. You can withdraw. Thank you so much
for
getting the audience to interact. So, okay, so we're going to move on, like we said, to look at others and how they have achieved using the methods that we advocate. And what we're advocating if you haven't noticed, is doing data differently. Doing data so that it's non-conventional, it's really creating a lot of value, it's a data first principle. And so we're going to look at a couple of use cases, and don't worry, we're not going to kill you with 1,000 slides. We're just going to flash through to make the story a little bit more robust. So the first topic we'll speak about is predictive maintenance. Surprise, surprise, we're in the aviation industry. And of course, there's a lot of work needed there, and for good reason. So if you can go to the next slide, Rashid. Okay,
Yeah,
so
showing, yeah.
for this, yeah, thank you so much. For this particular case, the challenge, the topic is predictive maintenance, but the challenge, it has to do with the fact that conventional data management no longer is able to meet the breadth and the visibility needs of the organization. And what we're talking about here is actually two different maintenance issues. One has to do with predictive maintenance related to the turnaround of aircraft at the gates. So how quickly can the airline be fueled, cleaned, maintained, everything else that needs to happen, which you as a group know way better than myself as a civilian passenger. But this is something that is considered, passenger delays costs, run up or 6 times more costly to airlines than even weather delays. So this is something that the airlines really needs to get their hands around, every airline. And in this area, of course, if you're having, all these different elements and all these different things that need to happen in concert with each other, how can you get visibility? How could you possibly be a mind reader? Well, data is one of those things that can help you do that. And I don't mean conventional data management, like just tabular data and trying to keep data in silos in each of the different areas. It's about bringing the data together in a contextualized way. So you might ask me, well, what is contextualized data and why is it so different from conventional data management? Well, if I say to you, brown, does it mean anything to you? And if I say to you, brown, a wooden chair, a woman is sitting on it in an office in Abu Dhabi, discussing something with a group on the topic that she really is interested in, data, I think it's going to tell you something else. The second example is contextualized data. It gives you the context in which the situation is so that you as a human, but also machines can understand better and be able to predict. So in this particular example, this had to do with the air forces, not civilian, but air forces. And what they did is they utilized contextualized data and also knowledge graphs, which are a method of non-conventional data management. And they also brought it together on blockchain, which was able to do things like time travel. It's a lot of different data work, different types of data professionals were involved, everybody from technical to non-technical data specialists, but also quite a bit of governance around the modeling for this, both from the AI perspective and from the perspective of data. The other area where there was a problem related to the aircraft is the development in terms of improving, solutions and making sure that you're not spending time on tactical fixes, which keeps you running kind of like a gerbil in a circle, but to use your energy on doing maintenance and, let's say, development improvements for longevity and lasting improvements. So if we look at this particular situation, what we find is that if the organization embraces non-conventional data management, then you're able to, with the different tactics and the different technologies, you're able to make great strides in any topic that you're interested in. And the U.S. Armed Forces also added additional efforts around digital twin. And what they did is they got the specific tail numbers of the aircraft, but they were able to do this by using the concept of lean data concepts. So they reduced the proliferation of data concepts and made it possible for people to understand precisely which aircraft. And all of these different efforts made it possible for them to make these improvements. So if we look at, this particular approach of non-conventional data management for predictive measures, predictive maintenance, both for the operations of the turning around of the aircraft, but also improving the development of the aircraft and the safety of it over time, you need to understand that that same effort can actually be applied to other topics. And the method is quite adjustable to various topics. So there's another topic related also to the Air Forces where they use knowledge graphs and blockchain in the area of communications. Sorry, next slide. In the area of communications and data sharing. So what they were able to do is use the non-conventional methods to do data storing and data accessibility and data processing in order to make great strides in the area of communication and data sharing, specifically in this case, initially for data sharing, but then also they used it for cybersecurity. So what I wanted to know from the audience, and they can always answer, is how many places can you think of that you could use better communication and data sharing within the group? I mean, there are many, many different topics. So moving right along, we're going to have a couple of examples of non-conventional data management for revenue management. So next slide, please. If we look at revenue management from the perspective of Boeing, this particular example, they actually were looking at, meeting the demand from the travel industry where things were booming. And the demand for travel meant there was more wear and tear on the aircrafts. So they also had to think about a way of how they could renew and recycle the product and parts from the product, so reducing waste. Using the principles of circular economy, but also making use of non-conventional data management practices. Why? Because the sheer volume and complexity of the data that was needed in order to stand up this new business model required much more than what we would call in typical tabular data legacy systems. There was a need to integrate the data, share the data, have people involved with the governance of the data, orchestrated right through to the knowledge experts and SMEs in the organization in order to stand up this new renewable and recyclable effort. So here again in revenue management and also a bit of supply chain, we know that this would not be possible if we wouldn't make use of non-conventional methods. Besides this example, I just wanted to give one personal insight related to revenue management. When I was at Etihad, I was involved with the forecasting group and the revenue forecasting group, and they have already made great strides in creating using AI models. However, they realized that they needed to do a lot more data work in order to really raise the bar on their forecasting ability, although they were one of the best in the world pre-COVID. So even if you're doing something right now in sustainability or in AI, the need to raise the bar on the effectiveness of your data management practice, including having an inclusive governance approach across the multiple topics, is essential to your success. So if we move right along to the next topic. I'm going to talk very briefly about catering management and fuel optimization. So catering management, we go to the next slide. This is an example, by the way, from Etihad, but there are, in the next slide, there's also examples from many different airlines, and it has to do with waste management, so food waste. If we look at the Herculean effort happening in various airlines, what we notice is that indeed AI from image recognition and to determine, whether or not, what's the behavior of the customer, are they going to eat or not, determining what's going to come from that. It's a pretty heavy exercise. So you really need to instill many different things in order to get at that. If you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so if we look at the principles of circular economy, and in this particular example, there's all sorts of different efforts where airlines, various airlines like Delta, like Ryanair, different airlines that are, doing a pay-as-you-go or some kind of flexible catering exercise. All of this requires that the operations department or something from the marketing, the customer engagement, that these things happen in concert. And what people seem to forget is that we are humans and we need to know what the left hand, what the right hand is doing. So a very good way to pull that together is via this invisible data body. Not just the formal governance people, but also, like I said before, the subject matter experts, knowledge. Because if you are not able to pull in that tribal knowledge and make it available for the rest of the organization, it will be very difficult for you to make incredible strides in any particular topic. So we're going to move along to, sorry, if you can go through to the next slide, fuel optimization. Next slide again.
Yeah.
Oh, that one, thank you. So in terms of fuel optimization, of course, we know that this is a very, very big topic in your firm. And what we do understand, of course, is from AITA is that the cost of airlines, of course, are very, very high costs related to human capital, so the staff, and rightfully so, the staff is very important, but also there's very high costs related to the fuel and fuel consumption. So this is definitely an area where we believe that the use of big data, the use of AI, and the use of non-conventional approaches like having lean data concepts, making use of inclusive data governance, orchestration among varying multidisciplinary groups, and of course the use of new techniques like data curation and knowledge graphs and ontologies to bring data together in context is incredibly important. We go to the next slide. Yeah. So what we wanted to do is now speak a little bit about circular economy. Go ahead, Rashid.
Yes. So just a little insight about circular economy, and what we know is we used to be in a linear economy, and we are transitioning into a more circular economy that contributes not just to us as an aviation airline, but to other parties. So if you look at the linear economy, and you can imagine that, okay, this is a straight line when we're extracting products, using it and disposing it. What we're trying to do is to bend this line into being circular, where we could reuse and reuse the same products. Or, for example, like as one airline, most of the airlines, reusable parts are being 3D printed using some of the reusable wastage from aircrafts, which is kind of a stage up right now. And if we want to put like statistics on, like you said, the AirFrance-KLM is trying to have a better fuel optimization. We go back that we could see that the commercial aviation in a whole contributes of around 2.5%. So going into a circular economy, it doesn't say 2.5% is a low number. We're not saying that. It's just the increase from 2015 to 2020 is it increased by 32%, which is a huge number. So contributing to this circular economy is how could we increase the fuel efficiency and how could we use data to have fuel consumption predictions. As an example, looking at airport destinations, future fuel prices, number of trips, all of these, etc. All of these would add up to have a better view on how could we contribute to this economy. So it's a principle of, like we mentioned in the beginning, it's the responsibility of the aviation industry towards this economy. So one of the aviation examples is how can we adopt the strategies for a better flight operation. So we split it up into four. AirFrance-KLM Group split it up into 4 groups, which is redesign, reduce, reuse, and recycle, which is actually the perfect example of a circular economy. And Airbus is using it also, but they have it in an end-of-life aircraft in 3 stages, which is basically the same thing, but we're looking at the end results. How can we create those loops where we could use and reuse? Again, that's the end goal of it. Moving on to our big idea and the impact of it.
Sure, thank you. So moving right along, the method that we've been speaking about, we wanted to give you a little closer look in the kitchen as to what is that method and why is that big idea so impactful for whatever you want to achieve for your business, whatever type of business or government or any type of organization that you might be in. So next slide. Oh, thank you.
It's a bit delayed, audio, so.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Thank you. So our big idea is, like we said, using non-conventional data methods and next generation solutions to create and manage, process, and potentialize, maximize, monitorize, leverage, contextualize data. And everything we do is about that goal, to get contextualized data in the hands of the many, so that you can do your work, you can make the best decisions, and to the point of the poll, the very first question, make you into the position where you can practically read people's minds, because most people really want to know, most people are curious, and it's a fact of life. You need to know something in order to do something. So if you look at our big idea, we really focus on the benefits of having reduced data language. So you might say, well, what is that? In most companies, there are a lot of data terms that most of the time don't contribute to any operation, any compliance or risk or anything, but they're just there, and it kind of clogs up the communication pipes and makes it very difficult for people and organizations to accelerate in anything they want to do. Call it predictive maintenance, forecasting for revenue management, or any other topic that you can think of. So what we try to do is create inclusive data language and reduce lean data concepts so that you don't perpetuate the Babylon of the past. If you want to start a new organization in the sense of being a leader in the responsible aviation field, it's very important to reduce waste also when it comes to the data. Then the second concept has to do with getting that language into the talent pool, both from a perspective of data literacy and data frameworks like governance, but marrying those governance between the AI and data as kind of the two twin cities. It's very important to be able to do that. So what we do is we make sure that we have all of the assessments of the different types of talent, and we have an inclusive data model where we actually turn on the hyper energy of the crowd by giving them a forum, just like crowdfunding, but crowd data knowledge, to give them a forum to distill their knowledge and share their knowledge. The third pillar for us is creating pioneering data products and services. And we encourage organizations to be daring, to know the value of the data, and also manage the condition of their data in concert. And in order to do that, you need to be able to use different methods, tactics, and create a data service offering, a catalog, so that your organization can more than survive, they can thrive. And then lastly, and very importantly, we advocate a semantic data architecture where we have the principle of data is the system, so that you have data moving from inside and outside the company, uninstructed, obstructed, as it needs to be used and for the right purposes. And we very much advocate knowledge graph ecosystems and ontologies to be managed as well. So if we look at that and we look at the work that we've done in the AI data governance space, as well as the AI ethical frameworking space, all of this is heavily dependent on data. But data that's in context and data that is moving at lightning speed with uninstructed next generation solutions. Next slide, Rashid. So we do this in a comprehensive way. This is just an example. We'll take an organization and we'll look at their strategic options. And these strategic options, if you go to the next slide really quickly, Rashid, and then come back. Yeah, these strategic options depends on the challenge of your current profile. I mean, we need to understand if an organization has CDO leadership or not, or they have a new CDO, if they have a CDO that's trying to get the maturity up to a level that is much more robust because there's some very high ambitions for the business, or if a CDO is really working on more revenue focused and profitability objectives. And of course, we understand that in the aviation industry right now, with all of the pressures, it is very important to take care of that all along the way, even if you're starting out with a CDO. If you can go back to the former slide, just very briefly. Thank you. So we look at that and we take organizations through 4 different tracks and address the issues in the middle of the data culture and how they operationalize the data governance. It's very important to get that matching right, especially looking at the organizational traits. Are you a hierarchical organization? Are you a market facing? Are you more of like a tribe? Or are you more ad hoc-y? There's different types of organizations. So we work with those types of things, but we also work with the capability. So things like data sharing and data quality strategies, as well as data integration. We look at those capabilities after we look at the organization and the data strategy alignment to the business strategy alignment. And then, and only then, are we able to really dig into the semantic architectures and point them at all of those business outcomes, like the fuel optimization, like cybersecurity, like catering, or revenue management, or any other thing that you would be trying to attain. Okay, if we can go to 2 slides forward.
Yeah.
Contextualized data is really about moving away from conventional data management, which in a lot of ways keeps your data in silos and also gives you mediocre results. We are shifting our focus in the data management consultancy space, and we only work on conventional data non-conventional data management, which results in high value from everything from risk management and compliance, cost optimization, and of course, the revenue and profitability areas, and be able to do things like scaling AI and AI in a way that's more effective. If you can go to the next slides. So let's look at value creation related to sustainability, a sustainability objective like doing something with fuel optimization, but you're going to use AI models. Now, a lot of people realize that AI is going to revolutionize everything we do. One of the futurists, one of the top futurists in the world, Amy Webb, in her recent book, mentioned that the people and the organizations and countries that get on top of AI will rule the world. I mean, whether or not you are absolutely subscribing to that, it's still the point that everybody is busy with AI. But there are some things known about the challenges around AI and some things not so known. And I'm going to start with the known ones. And the known ones are, we know that it's very difficult to any purpose, but we also know that the data scientists are spending way too much time on a lot of different activity that actually should shift to other data specialists like data engineers, data governance people, data modelers, ontologists, even knowledge engineers, or some more generalist data analyst skills. So these are things that we know need to be shifted, and that means that the governance structure in your organization needs to acknowledge that, to take the work, to place the work at the right place in order for AI to be scalable. Now, that's a known fact in the data world, but it might not be such a known fact in the general commercial world. Next slide. And as we look at the scalability of AI, there are many bears on the road, and it's related to an area called what we're calling the unknown obstacles for AI adoption. And I'm going to talk about this from the AI pipeline perspective. The AI pipeline is heavily dependent on data, but also data competence, so people skilled in different skill sets, and of course, data solutions. If we start from the left side, the stakeholders need to have their why. Why are they using this? Why are they using AI models at all? What are they getting at? What are they trying to get at that they can't get at without it? Then we move on to the need and translating that need into business information and business information model. This is a skill set that a lot of organizations don't even recognize and do not encourage people to get into this space. It's really important for the business ideas to be translated into a business information model. And then moving on, data curation. How fit are you? What is your data? Are you able to have all of the data available? Now we have solutions, next generation solutions that create synthetic data, fill the gaps in the data sets in order for the AI models to be able to receive the training data they need in order to produce successful outcomes. And this is a huge gaping hole in the AI process. Many organizations don't know it, but if you don't have a data curation specialist and you don't have the ability to create synthetic data, or you don't even know what synthetic data needs to be created because you never took the time to create the requirements, this will slow down your efforts. And it goes on to data preparation, which is a little bit more, better known, like my last slide, and then going into the training data. If you're able to get over the hiccups in the beginning of the AI adoption pipeline, you will be able to put yourself in the exceptional 1%. So you'll be able to run multiple AI models at the same time because you've got the right people in place in the rightful governance roles, And you also will be able to produce results because you can put multiple AI models and run them in parallel, accelerating your adoption. So this is the power of data competence, data as an asset, synthetic data as an asset, and also next generation data solutions, all bringing data in context. Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we wanted to just close in this in terms of our big idea is that unknown to many organizations, there are multiple different things that need to converge, and that there needs to be decisions made from a data-centric perspective. Understand the waves of AI, understand the waves of data integration, also understand that there's something called code sprawl, where there's lots and lots of code in your organization cluttering up the pipelines, but also a lot of data concepts that are over proliferated and need to be made lean. If you have that under control and you apply this to any objective such as sustainability or circular economy objectives in order to make the group more competitive, more engaging for their customers, these are things that you can do if you get the governance right and you get your data approach right. If we go to the next slide. Okay, so if you haven't noticed, we are big fans of something called knowledge graphs. And I don't want to belabor the point, but it is important that every single topic that you have in your strategy or you have within a particular department, you could possibly use knowledge graphs to contextualize your data, marry it with other data techniques and skills such as the curation that I mentioned with the synthetic data, but also in terms of getting on top of data quality. I mean, data quality wouldn't be such a hot topic if we actually understood our data and identified it in the very beginning so that it would run smoothly through the entire data pipeline. So it's not just my opinion. There are other companies that also have gone before us. And for example, this example has to do with NASA, where NASA has used enterprise level knowledge graphs to solve very precision problems regarding humans and having how much vibration they can take. It's very specific and very life-threatening events. Knowledge graphs have been used for that. The next slide has to do with the next slide, Rashid, has to do with pharmaceutical companies where they have also made use of knowledge graphs, and it's being used in the industry for multiple different purposes, everything from research to more related to, for example, medical devices and of course hospital care. So just in closing for this chapter, we just wanted to also mention that digital twins, and I know you're going to have a segment about that especially, digital twins are also making heavy use of data assets. People talk about IoT. Well, all of the sensor data is unstructured data and what we consider hot data. So we can skip through this, Rashid, and we can get to the last slide with the points from, yeah, continue going, keep on going.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. The information economy. So just wrapping up, if we look at, in the information economy, how to keep and maintain success and competitiveness and being also responsible aviation group, wouldn't you like to tap the untapped 70, if I understand correctly, 76,000 employees' knowledge worldwide to directly and indirectly contribute to the value creation power of your data? Because the aviation industry has a wealth of data, and with that being said, every now and then there's some gaps in there. But if those gaps could be filled with synthetic data and you could really move any of your initiatives forward, you would have to get very serious and have a very high level of acronym for data. So it's really good to bring in data leadership, position them with a correct type of mandate, and then make it possible to have a fit organization with inclusive data practitioners that work with the data scientists, work with the business people in the different areas, and work with the other data teams, and also be able to design appropriate data literacy for different employee profiles. Also, we talked about code and data sprawl. It's very important to clean up your data landscapes worldwide and really release the power of data, because you can't know what you can't see. And then the last point has to do with AI and data strategy. And although organizations might have that strategy in place, they find it very difficult to create operational anchoring in an effective and an impactful way to create all of those business outcomes and results. So what they're missing, and what you could do, is implement those portfolio models that marry data and AI with the service catalog. Also implementing operational data teams and operational data governance to ensure that the maturity of the data acronym is on par with the value creation appetite of the organization. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rashid to explain to you we are telling you this from our experience.
Yeah, thanks, Althea. Everything you said is on point, and it's all about saving stress and headache. So I'm going to give a little bit about ourselves, 10 key technologies. Who are we and where do we come from? So we're highly knowledgeable people about data, coming from award-winning data leaders, data thought leaders, MIT keynote speakers, Forbes magazine authors, and our team consists of the godfather of data monetization, the head of Dharma. We're a management consultancy, data management consultancy that has pioneering data ethics board members and a sum of 300 data management experience. So we are speaking of data DNA. So where we're at right now, we're Turnkey Technologies, a global company. We have clients coming towards us from all over the world, all the way from the east to the west, north and south of the globe. Our experiences and the credentials is extensive with the top of management consultancies, and we come from the financial industry, government, and aviation, and tech, oil, and global brands. We have people that are very knowledgeable in their specific niches, going from our data advisory board to our people as Turnkey Technologies, our colleagues. We address your data problems efficiently and with on point. So thank you, Althea, for the presentation. I'm just going to give you, this is a brief of who we are. And thank you, Yaron, for giving us a brief explanation about who are we and the introduction. So moving along, we're going to go to the questions, and if you guys have any questions to be answered, feel free, and if one of the moderators will come back and present.
I will be happy to read the questions, of course, but first of all, I want to thank you for your story. My goodness, what a good information and what a lot of insight you gave us, and really relevant to our airlines. So I was really happy. My green heart was jumping when there was some information. So thanks a lot. And I was not the only one, because I can read from the Q&A that there were more people that are really concerned and involved in the topic. For example, Cosmodo, he is asking, how can we justify the return on investment for high-cost innovation tracks like AI, especially in fund-constrained times that we are in? So how can we justify it?
Yeah. So you want me to take this one, Rashid?
Yeah, this is actually one of the points that we discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, a lot of people think that it's hard to that data has a lot of intangible benefits, but sometimes the people find it hard to link that to tangible benefits, and there are methods to doing that. Thankfully, we practice data monetization, so we actually know how to do the value proposition and gather that information. A little hint, when I spoke about the AI pipeline and the why, the very first, why are we doing this? That helps you be able to identify where the value creation is. But we actually have methods and techniques that we do, which I obviously can't explain, but we do have methods to quantify it for tangible and intangible benefits. So I wanted to say some benefits might be indirect, so you improve some efficiency or productivity, and others might be literally moving the needle on the revenue or profitability, and both are possible to calculate.
Cool. You know, there are more questions, and actually time is already up, so we are in spare time now, but let's see if we can also address this one by Caspar. How can we make big data smaller? So collect and store less and only what's really necessary and gives a social and sustainable return on investment. So and doing so without losing the data that we need. Is there a quick answer to that, or?
Quick answer is practice lean data concepts. Start using ontologies and knowledge graphs. It will navigate you to the right place, so you get to your business critical data and you get the most usage out of your highest value data.
So the short answer is knowing what you don't know.
That's a good answer. That's a short answer. And here is a short question also. On the path of what you propose, what should be our actions for the next 100 days? It is Gregor Bowers who is asking. So,
sorry, the next 100 days, well, depending on your strategic vision, the next 100 days would look differently. Starting, and you need to understand the lay of the land. Everybody needs to understand their starting point, but some detailed than others. If you're more advanced, then you need to get cracking on your value propositions and setting up portfolios that align data and AI, including, sustainability as well as a key stakeholder, and then any other business partners. So the agile portfolio model to get that done and get some value propositions to them as well.
Cool. I move to the next by Dirk Gemke, who is about travel platforms. What about using partnerships as means to minimize or even prevent new emissions? When considering new frequencies and destinations, reusing existing capacity of targeted air or rail partners prevents adding our own new emissions. Such opportunities and savings should not be difficult to crunch, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, partnerships is the new way to survive as any organization. Most organizations can't do it by themselves. So when we were speaking about data, you also need to make your data, get your data in shape so that you can do data integration interoperably with any partner, and then be in a position not just run the operations, but actually be able to say what the value of this partnership is for the partners and for the end consumers.
Nice. I've got a new one by Louis, and it's look at this one. How do you align the different levels of the organization, especially when they come from different data cultures, like AirFrance and KLM? The hard one.
Yeah. Find something that's a common value, something in common there, and make your operational governance and your commitments and your objectives related to that, because you need to have a joint experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Well, it's
a long-term relationship.
It is, I think. Yeah.
It is.
Sure. And then, just to close, because it's a question, but actually it's a compliment, because Rob says, a lot of information, mostly new for me. How can I digest this? So what is your answer to that? Just do this.
We will share some slides, not the whole deck. We will share some slides. And of course, we are the world's first chief data officer-led data management consultancy. They can always come and find us. So
yeah,
more than happy.
I think that's the perfect answer.
Yeah.
So then I can see Jeroen again, because we are in spare time already. I quickly give the floor again to Jeroen. Thanks, guys, a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mar. Althea, Rashid, thank you very much for your presentation. So in spare time, but I think it was not wasted time to talk about sustainability terms. So I really liked also the Q&A and all the questions, and also your story about how data governance is mandatory for using AI and how to become more sustainable with it. And as you mentioned, I think several times, so it's kind of cliffhanger, but indeed, we have a presentation from the NLR about using digital twins inside the Dutch Air Force also to become more sustainable. It's scheduled for Tuesday, November 2nd, but in 2 weeks, so Tuesday, October 5th, we will have a presentation from Lauren Weidenburg, and it's called Managing AI Wisely. And I hope to see all you at that moment back again. So for now, I will stop the broadcast. So Rashid, Althea, just hang on and we can see each other for the after talk afterwards. Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Althea. Thank you very much, Rashid.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.